And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to our second broadcast of the night. Welcome back to the ESL Masters Winter European Open Qualifier number 2. I'm of course ZvP, and with me I'm joined by these lovely players, and let's just dive right into it, because spawning in the top left hand corner of site Delta, we have the Swedish Zerg player representing Team Roddy. It is Fjant. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Protoss player representing Hokkaido T Team. It is EnigmA. And I'm shaking my head when it comes to the logo. Shaking my pants, as yes, we are getting into our first series here already. Again, the brackets are live. !B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Again, a very large bracket is unfolding, and of course we have chosen our path. I was caught between two series. I saw Fjant versus EnigmA. I also saw HateMe. HateMe had his another series going on as well, and I was very tempted, but just because of where this series leads us, I wanted to follow it. What I mean by that, Fjant versus EnigmA, winner of this is going to be going up against the winner of Trifax versus his opponent as well, versus Bums, even Trifax versus Bums. And yeah, we actually got to see a lot of Trifax yesterday, so I kind of wanted to follow that storyline a little bit here as well, as I imagine we're going to lead into the winner of this series versus Trifax. But regardless, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself because we still have this lovely and beautiful ZvP. For the time being, it is going to be a gate expand standard opener here from EnigmA. Now, we have casted EnigmA before. We've casted plenty of Team League matches between Hokkaido T Team and other teams like ourselves even. So it's been a while. It's actually been maybe a year or so since I've been having the luxury of, or maybe like 8 months since I've casted EnigmA, so I'm ready to be reintroduced to them. Meanwhile, Fjant, of course, a rising star and up-and-coming talent in the European region, but has been having a hard time really distinguishing himself from the rest of the pack, really breaking into the scene and getting as much notoriety as players like Young Yakov or even Mixu, for example. I do think that Fjant is still one step below them, but he's looking to take that step and to catch up. And now we do see an Overlord. Oh, actually getting caught out a little bit here for Fjant. Could end up getting supply blocked, as for now it will be able to survive. The Stalker is on the way. The Lings are going to be coming in for a full scout, but again, it may just cost him that Overlord, as the Lings do actually go for a couple of workers if possible as well. They can they get one? Not quite, not yet. Good control out of EnigmA, keeping his workers alive. All three of them so far. We do force some lost mining time, but one probe finally does go down before the Lings do get cleaned up. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Overlord, it did end up falling. Looking at the vision here, Fjant was unable to get into the main base, so he's a little bit in the dark as to what is going on. A Stalker typically reads a Twilight Council opener, so Fjant is a bit in the dark, but back at home, he's getting queens up anyway. We're getting 2 queens in the natural, 2 queens in the main, and the first Oracle is zooming, soon to zoom, across the map. Here we go. Oh, shout out to Ice Guy in the chat, the Kid Jedi as well. Also, ideally, we were going to kind of split up the castings and try and, you know, cover as much as we could. I think initially Roddy was going to be covering Euthermal. He was going to be covering Euthermal over on his own channel, but I think he has joined us for this series, as Euthermal's opponent was a little bit MIA, but it's fine. it is what it is. It's all good. It's all good. As the Oracle does make its way across the map, and it looks like it is not going to be able to get too much damage done. The Queens are in position. The Oracle is going to be forced away as we rotate in towards the main. But the Oracle not quite able to find any damage yet. There are a lot of transferring workers, and we will have to babysit these drones, but it looks like the Oracle isn't quite going to be able to engage. Meanwhile, across the map, we throw down additional gateways. We have our transition. It's going to be a Twilight Council and a Robo. No Forge. Interesting choice here from EnigmA. Is going to be delaying some of his tech here and going right into a Templar Archives. This is looking very aggressive. The Overlord goes in, goes for a full scout, sees gateways, sees the Twilight Council, doesn't see the Forge. This is reading like a Glaive at Eps. Fjant doesn't quite see the additional tech here in the natural base, so he may be getting ready for something like a Glaive at Ep follow-up, but as we can see, it should be Charge and Archons. Third base is going to be thrown down. Fjant again just still trying to get a read on the situation. Could even try to force a cancel on this Nexus. He goes to the surrounder. Depth's a bit out of position, and we will force a cancel on this third. Very nicely done. Behind this, roaches are on the way. But the Prism, oh, is on the way as well. The Oracle rallies into the natural base, does get shot down. Meanwhile, the War Prism has arrived. The shield batteries? The Archons are on the way, soon to be Zealots as well. We actually, interesting, no charge. It's just vanilla gateway units and Archons. This is really quirky. This is really throwing me off, not gonna lie. Enigma, I mean, he is an Enigma. Yeah, there you go. Makes sense. He is an Enigma. Keeps you guessing, Papi. As he is going to be forced back. The Archon drop not quite doing much damage. Behind this, third base is thrown down once again for a second time. But Enigma, he has lost so much map control. Behind this, Fjant, he can drone up to his heart's content. Fully saturate on 3 bases. Take additional gases. We have a 4th on the way. Roach speed as well. Fjant is in the driver's seat, and Enigma is in a really rough position. His third base is delayed. His tech is delayed. He's now working towards charge, but it's going to take quite some time for us to really kick into this. And as a result, yeah, Fjant, again, he's kind of free to do what he wants from this point. We'll see how greedy he becomes. If he does decide to tech up, he should be sticking to Lingbane Roach Ravager for the time being. I say that, no Baliness, just Ling Roach Ravager for the time being. Oh, there's one Overlord will go down, just barely. Queen's once again in position. I love that we're kind of giving the Prism a little bit of space here, trying to lure it in if possible. Well, back at home, to see Enigma just building up his forces here at this third base. Immortals, charge kicking in, +1 on the way, delayed +1 again. Like so much of the tech here is delayed just because of the opener, and I appreciate that we wanted to go into a really fast, I guess, Archon drop, but it was lackluster. It didn't really pay for itself. It didn't do enough. It actually cost Enigma quite a bit, and again, as a result, he is just kind of stuck at home. Oh, good force field though. Oh my god, catching a lot of these Lings. The Lings are getting cleaned up. Fjant behind this, still building up his forces. Now we do finally have that Baneliness on the way. We're getting fully saturated up to 63 workers. Soon to be 70. And this economy should be able to facilitate Fjant maxing out. And he's going to need to, because Enigma is building up his forces for one big push. Oh, he does catch the Banelings. A good start. Very good start here for Enigma, pushing now onto creep. Additional Banelings are on the way on the right-hand side. The Roach Ravager getting caught out a little bit here. Oh, one of those Ravagers does end up falling. Queens, they dive on that Prism, and they will get it. Prism goes down, but the Warpin finishes. Again, this is just a really awkward fight for Fjant. He does come in from behind. He does take down some of those Archons. Does avoid the Zealots for the most part. And good target firing. He gets one more Archon before being forced back. And he just has to buy some time. One Archon is left. 3 Immortals as well. So far, the kiting is looking good. We are slowly getting into that mineral line. The hatchery itself is going to go down. Reinforcements are getting cut off. Oh, and there's only one Ravager left. But with these reinforcing roaches, we should have enough. We should have enough. And there we go. Enigma is going to be driven back. Fjant could dive on this army. He is taking another base here on the left-hand side. At least Fjant didn't lose too many workers. He lost 3 drones and not much else. He can get on top of the Immortals. Or he can try to. But we have reinforcements coming in, and Fjant has to be very careful not to overextend. As the Immortal count is getting higher and higher. But again, Fjant still on 4 base saturation. Is lacking a little bit when it comes to his additional gases that were lost, but it's okay. We can still just remax here with more Lings. And Fjant does survive. But Enigma is not out of this. You know, he was able to preserve every single one of his Immortals. So he still does have an army that poses a threat. The reality is that he was hoping to do more damage. I mean, that push was designed to kill. It did not quite pull it off. Fjant, he's looking for a better angle of attack. The Banelings, oh, they almost get caught out. Does have to be careful. Gonna be taking another 5th base. Prism has been spotted. Fjant fully aware. He's gonna be sending some units back home to defend. Oh, oh my god! Does the Biles even connect on the Immortal? But last anyway, he's gonna be able to hold on to these bases. You know, we have shield battery, we have an overcharge, we have a more defensive position here. Oh, the Prism does bypass the army. Uh-oh. Was spotted by the Overlord at least, and Fjant is going to be turning back around with everything, actually. Zealot run by on the left-hand side. Again, we still have the War Prism here towards the north. Could even go into the main. And here we go. We've been able to rebuild that Archon count. Maintain the Immortal count. The Zealots towards the south are getting cleaned up. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Prism does get into the main. Oh, and we get a massive warping into the main base. The main army pushing on forward as well. And Fjant, he's in some trouble. The Banelings are still not done. He has to engage. He has to push in. He does clean up a lot of these Zealots. But can he get on top of the Immortals? That's the real question. The Archons, they tank a lot of the Banelings. The Immortals are pushing on through. And EnigmA, he's breaking on in. Back in the main base, the Zealot warp in is getting out of hand. And it looks like EnigmA, he has done it. The lanes get cleaned up, the Ravagers and Roaches as well. GG gets called, and EnigmA takes game number 1. Ooh, GG. GG, well played. Initially, you know, Fjant, he was actually defending quite well. He was able to keep up, but EnigmA was able to successfully pull him apart. Not just that, but EnigmA, he, you know, credit where credit is due. He was able to do a great job at preserving his units and keeping his Immortals alive for the eventual second push, for the eventual 3-base all-in, where he was able to just remass his army and snowball out of control. GG, well played. It was just too much to handle in the end. And with that, EnigmA, he takes game 1. And he is that one step closer to take the entire series. Fjant is up against the wall. Again, initially he did have a good start, but you know, he wasn't able to keep up with the Warpism. The fact that that Zealot Warpin did finish was brutal. On top of that, it wasn't the first time that Fjant was caught without Banelings, was caught mid-morphing in the Banelings, and as a result, he lost a lot of them before it could really collapse on the army itself. Just too much to handle, and with that, GG. GG. We're getting into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Swedish Zerg player representing Team Roddy down in this series, but not out. It is Fjant. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Red Protoss player representing Team Hokago T-Team. It is EnigmA. And here we go, getting into that next game. See the chat catching up as well. Again, that was a lot of Immortals. The Roach army melted, Bobby, melted. Oh my god. And interesting opener, it's going to be a 15-15, 15 hatchery into a 15 spawning pool. So Fjant is just a little bit concerned about potential Twilight Council openers. He does want a secure, safe, natural base. He doesn't want to be forced into the unnatural natural. So as a result, Fjant, he's going to be sacrificing some of his gas income, and he's going to be just, in general, going for a bit of an inefficient opener here, just to be safe. Slightly inefficient, I should say, compared to a hatch first. And yeah, we are just getting into our openers. Here we go. Alright, getting into our openers, and really my eyes are on EnigmA. Like, even then, like, winding the clock back a little bit to game number 1, EnigmA's opener was wild. For him to go for a Twilight Council straight into Templar Archives, again, he only uses Twilight Council for the Archon opener, the Archon drop. I would say that, again, in the early game, Fjant, he was in a decent position, right? The Archon drop didn't really do much of anything. He wasn't able to really hit any kind of timing or really deal any damage to his opponent, and he had to kind of back off instead and regroup and work on a secondary push. And remember, even as all that was happening, we had to cancel on the third base. Like Fjant, he had an almost ideal early game getting into game 1. But it was afterwards. It was when the main pushes were coming. Again, Fjant just wasn't quite able to keep up with them when it came to the first and the second push as well. Winding it back to the first one, we saw that EnigmA, he gained quite a lot of ground, was able to break that third base as well, and trade relatively well overall. We saw that Fjant was caught in a really rough position, and yeah, was losing quite a lot of Roach Ravager to begin with. So I would say, I guess, wrapping it up, EnigmA having, as he's going for a faster 2-gate here in the main base. Okay, I'm ready for it. EnigmA, clearly his openers are a little bit more wild than normal, so I'm ready for the 2-gate opener here, which is going to be spotted. Third gateway is thrown down. Very aggressive opener here out of EnigmA. What I was getting at is that in general, I do think that the build choice of EnigmA was less than ideal, but I guess when it came down to the army engagements and the main army fights, that is where EnigmA was able to excel a little bit better, whether it was control with the main army or positional play at that as well. So we go, Robo and Twilight Counter on the way. Really interesting to see EnigmA prioritize additional gateways over his tech. It's something that we don't often see, and again, it is a Twilight Council opener out of EnigmA. Before this, the Stargates and Oracle opener didn't really do too much damage. And Fjant is aware of the tech. He was able to scout and confirm the faster Robo, the fact that it wasn't a Stargate. Here we go. Glaive Adepts, an interesting Glaive Adept variation. This is 3 gateways. I'm not too familiar with this. Okay, so it's going to be 3-gate Glaive Adept here. We have our initial wave moving out. Of course, no glaives yet. We still have a ways to get into that, but EnigmA does want to apply pressure very early on already. He is moving out. And this is catching Fjant a bit off guard. His lanes are across the map. They're not back at home. Fjant, he saw the additional gateways earlier. He saw that gateway in the main, and that was a tell. But drones are going down. The Roaches still in production. Ling's not quite ready for this either. 6 drones already. And the Adepts say, do not commit to the shade. They're going to recall back home. And remember, this is merely stage 1. Those were glaive-less Adepts, and now we're building up the Adept count even higher. We have a Dark Shrine on the way behind this. Again, we have taken all 4 gases. My god. Big delay on the third base in favor of just pure aggression out of EnigmA. Just sending mass Adepts across the map. The War Prisoners as well to reinforce and to also get those DTs out. Fjant once again going for a bit of a Ling counterattack. Back at home, he at least has Roaches. Oh god. He has 10 Roaches, 4 more on the way. Fjant just breaking out of that supply block, and there we go, the Adepts, they have arrived. Can Fjant keep up with the glaives? So far, he's so good. A couple of Roaches are getting picked off the Ravager as well. Decent pick up here from EnigmA. Meanwhile, across the map, the Lings are getting out of control. They get on top of the Cybercore. Big pick off. Without the Cybercore, no more Adepts here for EnigmA. But does he care? Because really, he just wants DTs. As we get into the main base, 5 more drones go down. Ugh. As we focus down a couple more. Fjant down to 28 workers. He didn't have many workers to begin with because he cut workers early on to deal with the Glaive Adepts. But 7 did fall. DTs, they get into the main. No detection whatsoever. DT, or even Adepts here at the third base. And Fjant is being completely pulled apart. There is detection at the natural, but not in the main. The hatchery falls, and now we can go for the hatchery here at the third. Fjant about to be knocked down to 1 base. We have a Spore Crawler on the way, but it's too little too late. EnigmA snowballing out of control. Killing the third and the main. Spawning pool is going to be bleeding out. No lair, which means we can't respread creep here. The Queens are on the way to try to save that spawning pool, but I'm not too sure if they can. And at this point, Fjant, he feels pretty all in, but it's just such an awkward position, right? There's no lair, there's no roach speed. Back at home, EnigmA, he's getting Archons, working towards Immortals. He's ready for a counterattack. He's getting 2 shield batteries with an overcharge. He's more than prepared. Even if Fjant's committed, it's going to be a tough ask here to break EnigmA. And yeah, from here, it's going to be an uphill battle for our Fjant. Again, working on that lair. With this lair, we do gain a couple of different possibilities. Other than, of course, roach speed, we can try to go for potentially dropper lords or some other form of aggression. Playing macro from this point is going to be nigh impossible. Again, EnigmA, he has gotten enough of a lead where droning from here it's going to be so difficult to pull off. There's so much to overcome. Here we go. Adepts are on the way. More of them. We have the Bay, double Robo, sorry, double Disruptor, or even double Colossus production on the horizon here for EnigmA. Adepts, they are dropped into that natural base. Drones are going to be going down. We can't afford to lose workers at this point. I mean, we barely have any to begin with. 9 workers go down. That spawning pool getting disturbingly low. Getting even lower with that Adept. Oof. And here comes the 1-2 punch. You know, we have crippled the economy of Fjant, disrupted the production, and now here comes the army. Honestly, I don't think this is even necessary for EnigmA. I think he can just like saturate his 3 bases and get into his Colossi first, just to be secure. So this is a bit of a risky maneuver. The supplies are similar. We'll see if Fjant can pull off a miracle hold and a miracle defense. Meanwhile, oh god, we do have a Prism in the main base. The Prism goes down! The Prism should go down. Okay. Does get targeted down in the main. With Jubilee on forward. Good target firing on the Ravagers. And we are just diving on said roaches. 6 more roaches in production. It looks like EnigmA, he's going to be content by going for that 3rd base. No, he wants the army. But again, is EnigmA overextending? Bearing in mind, he doesn't have the Prism anymore to juggle, to reinforce. Immortal is going to be going down. We are down to a handful of gateway units and the Immortals. Earlier, the Archon's going down. Link's coming to reinforce, and we should clean this up. And again, EnigmA, he didn't have to push out like this. He's going to lose everything. But doesn't matter. Okay, we could have just waited a little bit longer, waited for the Colossi to pop out, and then move out here with a death ball of an army. Fjant's not completely out of this yet, but the reality is that he cannot break this position. Like, the reality is that EnigmA, he's safe at home. Like, there's with the shield batteries, with Colossi, and Fjant's still less than half the worker count of EnigmA. Thankfully, at least the spawning pool survives. At least it's, you know, we're good. It's bleeding from every orifice, but you know, it's still fine. It's still good. Oh. As yeah, this is now becoming a push that cannot be dealt with. Earlier, of course, with only Immortals and without the War Prism, then sure. But now we have some splash damage. Now we have a War Prism to help juggle and preserve some of these high-tech units. We have Micro available, more importantly. And even though Fjant did pull off a bit of a miracle defense earlier, this is going to be quite different. Link's trying to catch some reinforcements, maybe go for a bit of a backstab. Here we go, we have 4 Colossi with the main army. Oof. And even though Colossi aren't the best unit against roaches, they are going to be good enough here to swipe away at this army. Splash damage is just becoming a bit too much to have that Prism behind this just to reinforce. And keep the pressure on. We're making a 5th Colossus? Typically ill-advised, just because of the overkill that all those Colossi do have. Regardless, though, we blink on forward. We're going to take down the Roaches, the Ravagers as well. Make as many Colossus as you want at this point, as we will clean up the army. And EnigmA is looking to take this first series 2-0. GG gets called. EnigmA advances on to the round of 32. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to EnigmA for taking the series. Very, very powerful performance here. My condolences to Fjant. It was a rough couple of games. Maybe I should put a little bit more emphasis. Even some of the chat caught onto it as well. EnigmA, his builds were wild, both in game 1 and in game 2. Game 1, Fjant was taking advantage of that. Here in game 2, it was so wild. Remember, he went for a very fast second and third gateway before any tech whatsoever, so he was able to catch Fjant off guard with 6 adepts as they went across the map. Behind it, into glaives on 2 bases, into 4 gases, into DTs as well. Just such a wild player EnigmA is. So difficult to keep up with, so difficult to read, and Fjant wasn't able to in the end. He did end up falling, and GG, well played. GG, as we are going to be getting ready for our next series. Again, EnigmA does advance on here into the next round. I believe the round, let me just double check. I believe it's the round of 32 next. Yes, and he's going to be facing off against, he's going to be starting his vetoes against Trifax.